A while ago, I did one of these on crowds, and I didn't have too much to say in favor of them, certainly not when it comes to intelligence. So I was very much surprised and not a little intrigued when I came across a book entitled The Wisdom of Crowds, subtitled Why the Many Are Smarter Than the Few, and How Collective Wisdom Shapes Business, Economics, Societies, and Nations. Well, that's quite a lot of titling and a very great claim to make. A boast, really, so I had to get a copy of that book. I believe it was a bestseller in its day and made something of an expert or a sage of sorts out of its author, who is listed as writing a business column for the New Yorker, from which this book sprung. And while the title is long, lovely, and highly promising, it turns out that the book is a cheat, which pretty much killed my interest in it right away. The author's notion of a crowd is no crowd at all, but a highly specialized group in which the sum of what they know exceeds the knowledge of any and all of its parts. I would also further quarrel with the author's use of the word wisdom, which further decreased the value of the book for me. Since, as far as I was concerned, it wasn't about wisdom and it wasn't about crowds, I was mightily disappointed. I still read the book, though I admit to picking up my pace as I went along, finishing at a full gallop. The book is very readable and contains a number of experiments from psychology and sociology and economics, as well as studies of certain events, all intending to reinforce the author's premise about a group being smarter than individuals, even though he does reference the camel as a horse designed by committee. Specifically, the author proves to his satisfaction his theory of the excellence of group thinking by means of guessing the weight of an ox at a state fair, also the classic number of jelly beans in a jar, and, somewhat more impressively, the exact location on the sea bottom of a missing submarine. I have to believe that the author was very nearly going out of his individual mind during the unsuccessful search for the missing Malaysian airliner. If he could have assembled a hand-picked group and let each member estimate their own putative location of the plane, then combine all estimates and produce one final point, and if, hocus pocus, that proved to be close enough to the actual location, so that deep-sea divers might find it, well then, following that coup, the author and his method would be rich, respected, and worldwide famous for at least several generations. And that would no doubt spawn TV shows in which groups solve incredibly difficult problems, like the A-Team and Mission Impossible and Leverage and Scorpion. In other, more worldly ways, we do give credence to much of what the author says. We have juries, blue ribbon panels, management teams, and, as the author notes, rarely does science operate on the lone genius model. And there were a few nuggets in the book as well, such as, no matter how much evidence exists that seers do not exist, suckers will pay for the existence of seers. That's called the seer-sucker theory. And attributed to the always thrice-named John Maynard Keynes, worldly wisdom teaches that it is better to fail conventionally than to succeed unconventionally. And Keynes again, markets can stay wrong longer than you can stay solvent. And finally, the author himself says that a mob is not wise, something we agree upon completely. Not that agreement is the chief requirement for my admiration of a book. The opposite may even be true, for it was that which drew me to this book and left me so disappointed.